Awesome. Hi, Stephen. I'm Ariana. Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hi. So, why did you feel like it was time for a queer as folk revival?
Well, Queer as Folk was such an important show to me growing up. It was my, it was honestly like my first exposure to queer culture. Um, and in telling queer stories has been really important to me throughout my career. And I felt like this was the the best way to just so much has happened obviously in the last 20 years, and the word queer itself, it means something very different than it did back then. And I felt like now was the time to tell the new story of what it is to be empowered, to be queer, to be unapologetic now.
For sure. And why did you decide to set it in New Orleans?
I mean, I don't know if you've been, but have you been?
No.
Okay, you should go.
I know.
It is like there's no, its queer community is so specific, so unique. It doesn't exist in this way anywhere else on Earth. It's obviously it's the queer oasis in the South, and so queer people from all over gravitate towards this area. So it has this resilient punk, vibrant energy that I don't know, I just you don't really see elsewhere. But it's also an intersection of class, race, privilege, abilities, and that just felt like there were so many queer stories begging to be told from within this community. And it's a place that holds a very special place in my heart. I used to go there a lot with Chi Devane, who is a very close friend of mine. And it was in our trips there together that it really became clear that this is the setting for a new Queer as Folk.
Perfect. So there's a flashback episode where we see Ruthie in high school, and Ruthie's previous name, Ruthie's dead name, is bleeped out through the entire episode. Why did you make that decision to do that?
Well, I think so. That episode is a very personal episode for our writer, executive producer, Jaclyn Moore, and it was really important for us to tell the story. I think they did such a beautiful job telling the story of it's essentially the origin story of Ruthie, and also her relationship with Brody. And I think from the get-go, when we talked about having this flashback episode, it was evident we were going to be using the name, and we wanted to bleep out the name because of to bring attention to what dead naming itself really is, because it's oftentimes after people transition, the learning curve of that name means something very different after you transition, and we didn't want to give it any more space, any more time, because she is and always has been Ruthie.
Awesome. And what is the importance of the mirror room? It feels very significant, but I was wondering, in your point of view, what is the importance of it?
Well, it originally sparked from an idea from a friend in New Orleans who actually did create a mirror room in his backyard. So it came from a real idea, but as you know from the show, it's this kind of the epicenter of a lot. It's a space for flashbacks, it's memories, it's a transformative space, and it's also reflected in our poster campaign, because I think reflections are such a big part of the queer existence. For me, when I saw the original Queer as Folk, it was the first time that I saw myself reflected, and the power of that, that changed my life. So I knew from the beginning I wanted to get metaphorical. I wanted to bring in the visual poetry into this show and create a room that could be a significant space for our characters to see themselves reflected from every angle. And that is, I think, the crux of our show, is that we're not just trying to reflect the good sides or the good angles. We're getting every angle. And that, I think, is sort of baked into the DNA of our show. I like this question.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, it is definitely, you see every angle and you have to confront yourself in the mirror room because
Exactly.
there's no other place to look.
No.
But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and congrats on the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for talking.
Thanks.